At my grandfather's funeral, I found an old passbook. But my mom laughed and threw it away like it meant nothing. That's when I realized she didn't want me to see it. Everyone else was focused on leaving early, cutting the service short, acting like his life had already been cleared out. But I couldn't ignore that moment. The way her hand moved too fast. The way she didn't even check what it was. I picked it back up when no one was looking. It felt heavier than paper should, like it carried something unfinished. And I didn't know it yet. But that small, forgotten book was about to expose everything. The funeral ended faster than it should have. 30 minutes. That's all my grandfather's life was given. A short speech, a quick prayer, and then people started checking their watches like they had somewhere better to be. My mom was the first to stand. "Let's not drag this," she said quietly, already reaching for her coat. No tears. No hesitation. Just efficiency. That was normal for her. What wasn't normal was the way she had reacted to the passbook. Too fast. Too dismissive. Too intentional. I stayed back as everyone walked out, pretending to adjust the flowers near the casket. When no one was watching, I slipped the passbook into my coat. It felt old. Worn. Water-stained. But not useless. Not the way she made it seem. At the house, things moved even faster. Boxes appeared out of nowhere. My brother Wyatt was already talking about selling the farmhouse like it was just another property. "We should list it next week," he said casually. "Market's hot." My grandfather had been buried less than an hour. I watched them move through his home like it didn't belong to him anymore. Like it had already been reassigned. "Don't take anything," Wyatt told me quietly. "Mom's handling everything." Handling. Another word that sounded normal, but wasn't. I nodded. Of course I did. I had always been the one who didn't argue. The one who didn't question. The one who stayed out of the way. That's why they weren't watching me. That's why I could leave early without anyone noticing. That night, I drove back to the farmhouse alone. The air inside still smelled like him. Wood, books, something steady and familiar. Nothing had changed here. Not yet. I walked straight to his study. The chessboard was still set up. We played every Sunday for 15 years. I had never beaten him. Not once. He used to say, "The game isn't about the pieces. It's about what you don't see coming." I didn't understand it then. I was starting to now. I checked the shelves. Books exactly where they always were. Then I saw it. Strategic Endgame. The same book he had mentioned the night before he died. "Only you," he had said. I pulled it down. Something felt off. Too light. I opened it. The pages had been hollowed out. My breath caught. Inside was a folded note. And the passbook. My hands shook as I opened the note. "Danica, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry to leave this to you, but you're the only one I trust." My chest tightened. They don't know about this account. I already knew who that meant. Your mother and brother have been stealing from me for years. I have proof, but I can't fight them anymore. I stopped reading for a second. Everything went quiet. Too quiet. Every memory shifted at once. Every dinner. Every helpful moment. Every time they insisted on handling his finances. It all started making sense. I kept reading. Trust no one in the family. Only you. My throat went dry. At the bottom was an account number. And a bank name I had never heard of. I sat there for a long time. Not crying. Not panicking. Just thinking. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was clarity. The passbook wasn't old. It wasn't useless. It was hidden. For a reason. The next morning, my mom called. Her voice was soft. Too soft. "Sweetheart, you didn't take anything from the house, did you?" There it was. The check. Not concern. Control. "Just a book," I said. A pause. "Too long." "Good girl," she replied. Good girl. I stared at my phone after she hung up. In 35 years, she had never used that tone unless she was hiding something. An hour later, Wyatt called. "I'll give you something extra from the sale," he said. 5, maybe 10 grand. Off the record. A bribe. They were nervous. That confirmed everything. I looked at the passbook again, then at the note, then at the account number. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about money. This was a setup, a plan my grandfather had started, and expected me to finish. The next morning, I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I got in my car, entered the address from the passbook, and drove 40 minutes north to a town I had never heard of. The bank looked like it hadn't changed in decades. Old signage, quiet lobby, the kind of place where nothing important is supposed to happen. I walked up to the counter and slid the passbook across like it was nothing. The young teller smiled at first, typing in the account number casually. Then her expression changed. Not confusion, not curiosity, something closer to fear. She checked again, slower this time. Then she looked at me like I wasn't supposed to be there. "Can you wait here for a moment?" she said, already stepping back. Within seconds, she disappeared into the back. I heard whispers, urgent ones. The kind people don't bother hiding when they think you won't understand. 90 seconds later, a man walked out. Mid-50s, tired eyes, controlled posture. The manager. He looked at the passbook, then at me, and something in his face drained instantly. "Miss." "Gross," he asked carefully. I nodded. His hand tightened slightly on the counter. "I need you to come with me." No explanation. No smile. Just quiet urgency. He led me into his office and closed the door behind us. Then he did something I didn't expect. He locked it. My chest tightened for a second. Not fear, just awareness. Something serious was happening. "Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice lower now. "My grandfather," I replied. "He passed away 3 weeks ago." That was the moment everything changed. The man sat down slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him properly anymore. "We've been waiting for you," he said. Waiting. That word didn't make sense. He turned his screen toward me. The account details were there. Clear. Official. Balance. $247,832. My breath caught. "That's not all," he added quietly. Then he opened a file. Inside were copies of documents. Signatures. Transfers. Dates. My mother's name. My brother's notary stamp. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The pattern was already clear. For years ago, he continued, someone tried to empty this account using forged documents. We stopped it. My chest tightened. "Who?" I asked. He didn't answer directly. He just turned the file toward me. And I saw it. My mother's signature. My brother's authorization. Clean. Repeated. Intentional. "Your grandfather reported everything," the manager said. "But he refused to press charges." That didn't surprise me. It hurt, but it didn't surprise me. "He told us to wait," the manager added. "He said you would come." My hands rested on the table, steady now. Not shaking anymore. Because the confusion was gone. This wasn't a random discovery. This was planned. Carefully. Quietly. For years. Before I could say anything else, the door opened. A woman stepped in. Sharp suit. Calm eyes. "Detective Jefferson," she said. "Financial crimes." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just family drama. This was a case. And I had just stepped into the center of it. Detective Jefferson didn't waste time. She sat across from me, opened a folder, and slid it forward with a calm that felt heavier than anything she could have said. Inside were bank statements, forged signatures, transaction histories, and notes. Detailed, precise, undeniable. "Your grandfather documented everything," she said quietly. Every transfer, every signature, every time they pressured him. My chest tightened, but I stayed still. I had already seen enough to understand where this was going. "We've been building a case for 2 years," she continued. "But we needed one thing." I looked at her. "What?" "You," she said. Simple. Direct. We needed someone inside the family who wasn't involved. The room went silent for a second. Not empty. Just focused. "They think they got away with it," she added. "They're moving fast now, selling property, shifting assets, cleaning things up before anyone notices." I let that settle. Because it made sense. The rush after the funeral. The pressure. The sudden decisions. It wasn't grief. It was timing. "What do you need me to do?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "Act normal," she said. "Go to dinner. Smile. Let them believe everything is fine while we gather the final pieces. I nodded slowly, not because it was easy, but because it was clear. For the next 2 weeks, I played my role perfectly. Sunday dinner at my mother's house felt like a performance. She moved through the kitchen like nothing had happened, serving food, making small talk, acting like everything was under control. Wyatt barely looked at me, scrolling through his phone, but every now and then, he would glance up just long enough to check if I knew something. I didn't give him anything. We got an offer on the farmhouse, my mom said one night, smiling like it was good news. Cash. Quick close. That's great, I replied. My voice didn't shake. My expression didn't change. Inside, I was connecting everything. The speed, the urgency, the need to finish before something stopped them. Your grandfather would have wanted this, she added. I nodded, not agreeing, just allowing her to keep talking. Then she slid an envelope across the table. Your share, she said. I opened it. $5,000. I looked at it for a moment, then at her, then back at the check. Thank you, I said quietly. She smiled, relieved. That told me everything. They thought I believed them. They thought I was still the same version of me who didn't question things. That was their mistake. Under the table, my hands stayed still. No shaking, no reaction, just control. Every 3 days, Detective Jefferson called. Short updates, careful progress. They're moving money offshore, she said once. Your brother's getting nervous. Another time, your mother tried contacting the bank. She knows something's wrong. Good. Let her feel it. I didn't rush anything. I didn't push. I just stayed exactly where they expected me to be. Quiet, cooperative, invisible. Until the morning, everything changed. My phone rang at 6:45 a.m. Jefferson. It's happening today, she said. My heart didn't race. It didn't need to. Everything had already been set in motion. Stay home, she added. Don't contact them. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Okay. At 7:47 a.m., my phone started ringing again. My mother. I didn't answer. It rang again. And again. Then Wyatt. Then both. One after another. I let every call go to voicemail. I already knew what had happened. By 9:30, Jefferson called back. It's done, she said. 2 simple words. Your mother and brother are in custody. I closed my eyes for a second. Not relief. Not shock. Just stillness. We executed search warrants, she continued. Recovered everything. Fraud, forgery, money laundering. It's all there. I didn't ask anything else. I didn't need details. The truth had already been clear long before this moment. All this did was confirm it. I ended the call and set my phone down. The house was quiet again. But this time, it felt different. Not empty. Not heavy. Just resolved. They thought they had already won. They thought the story had ended the moment my grandfather died. What they didn't understand was this. The game had never been theirs to control. The trial didn't feel dramatic. It felt inevitable. By the time it began, there was nothing left to argue. The evidence spoke on its own: bank records, forged documents, recorded calls, timelines that matched too perfectly to deny. I sat in the courtroom without reacting, listening as everything my grandfather had endured was finally said out loud. My mother didn't look at me. Not once. Wyatt tried, but every time our eyes almost met, he looked away first. When the prosecution played my grandfather's recorded statement, the room changed. His voice was steady, clear, not confused, not weak. He described everything in detail: the pressure, the threats, the lies. Then he said my name, not loudly, not emotionally, just certain. I trust Danica, he said. That was it. That was enough. For hours later, the jury came back. Guilty on all counts. No hesitation. No doubt. My mother's face stayed blank as the sentence was read: 7 years. Wyatt tried to speak, but the judge cut him off: 3 years. Just like that, everything they built on lies collapsed quietly in front of everyone. No shouting. No chaos. Just consequence. Afterward, their lawyers approached me with careful words, apologies, explanations, attempts to soften what had already been decided. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to hear. Weeks later, the farmhouse sold. I kept it, not because I needed it, but because it was his. I cleared it slowly on my own terms. I kept the chess set, the one we played on every Sunday. Everything else, I let go. The money sat untouched for a while. Then I moved it into a trust, set up a scholarship in his name, kept only what I needed to rebuild quietly. It was never about the amount. It was about what it represented. A year later, I visited his grave. No speeches, no tears, just a simple moment. I found it, I said quietly, just like you knew I would. The wind moved through the trees, soft and steady. For the first time in a long time, everything felt clear. Not perfect, not easy, just right. That night, I set up the chessboard and replayed our last game from memory. Move by move, piece by piece. And finally, I saw it. The move I had missed all those years. I smiled. Not because I had won, but because I understood. Some games aren't meant to be won in the moment. They're meant to be finished later, when everything is finally revealed. I leaned back in the silence, the board still in front of me, the pieces exactly where they needed to be. I didn't need revenge. They had already lost everything.